There's no assertion. Nobody is doing anything to you. Nobody is doing anything to you. And you want to say, but wait, there are things happening to me that I know I'm not asking for. So if I'm not asking for them and they're happening, then it seems like somebody else is doing it to me. Seems like somebody else did it. And therefore, I want to point my finger of blame. And we say, we know it seems like somebody else did it because you don't want it, and you, in a very core place, believe that you wouldn't do bad things to yourself. Especially when we say you create your own reality. You say, well, that doesn't make sense. I wouldn't do that. I didn't want that. I wouldn't do that. And we just want you to know that you're doing it. You just don't know you're doing it. You're doing it by default. You're doing it because you're not tending to your point of attraction. You're doing it, frankly, because you have become willing to endure negative emotion. You're willing to put up with it. You're willing to feel the emotion of blame. You're willing to feel the emotion of blame, which means you're not tending to your point of attraction. You're willing to be angry, which means you're not tending to your point of attraction. You're willing to be afraid. You're willing to be frustrated. You're willing to be overwhelmed. And many of you think, well, it's not that I'm so willing. It's like I don't think I have a choice. Like my overwhelmment seems like an economic problem or just a function of too many kids or too much to do. My overwhelmment seems like it's happening to me. And we say, your overwhelmment is a byproduct of the two vibrational vantage points, period. It's never about what you think it's about. What you think it's about is only the reason that you're focusing your energy out of whack. And you have the ability to focus your energy back into whack. You do. You can focus yourself into alignment. You can. But you gotta care about how you feel, which means you gotta care about your point of attraction, which means you gotta care about how you feel, which means you gotta care about your point of attraction, which means you gotta care about how you feel, which means you gotta care about your point of attraction. Which means you gotta care about your point of attraction, your point of attraction, your point of attraction, you're doing it to you, your point of attraction, you setting up vibrations, which law of attraction is responding to, your point of attraction, your point of attraction, your point of attraction, your point of attraction. We think we need to make this point. It's your point of attraction. It's your point of attraction. No one is doing anything to you. No one is doing anything to you. You observe things happening and you train yourself into vibrational habits. That's what beliefs are. It's just a habit of thought. You train yourself into those patterns, and those patterns equal your point of attraction, but nothing happens to you outside your point of attraction. Esther made her placemat process this morning, and she only put a few things on her side of the placemat. Everything else she put on the universe's side of the placemat. She loves delegating and releasing to the universe. And as she was putting the items on her side of the placemat, do you know some of the things that she did not put on her to-do list were, keep my blood pumping through my body effectively today. She didn't put that on the list. Now you'd think it would be a big thing. Given how important that is. She did not talk about the aspects of her body. She did not talk to her nose and ask it to smell appropriately today. She did not counsel her taste buds. In other words, she didn't ask her liver to function well. She did not address any of the organs of her body. Can you imagine someone that lackadaisical in her things to do today list? She didn't put sun come up. She didn't put earth continue to spin in its orbit. She didn't put any of those things that are so essential to every moment of every day that you live. We think that you want to give it to us that the well-being is bigger than the problem in your bank account, or the well-being is bigger than the problem with the oil gushing in the Gulf. The well-being is huge. It's enormous. There is no way of even comparing. And we want to say this to you because we want you to feel the bigness of the well-being that is the counterpart of this vibration that you are offering. In other words, two vibrational aspects playing off of one another all the time. Well-being is winning no matter how pessimistic you are. Well-being will prevail. So now the question comes to you and what you're doing with your conscious, focused mind. Because with your conscious, focused mind, you only have the ability to affect the vibrational relationship between these two vibrational aspects of you. And we want you to hear something that you probably are not really aware of. Most people don't understand this at all. If you were not in this body and you were not deciphering contrast and you had not come to your own personal conclusions, whether you spoke them verbally or not, about what you don't want and what you do want, just your exposure to life has caused you to put all kinds of things extremely personal to your experience. In fact, that's the only way you can do it. Extremely personal to your own experience as it relates to you and everything that you're living. As you put these rockets of desire into your vortex that are very personal to your experience, things like, I would like plenty of money. I would like to have the freedom to do as I want to do. When someone is rude, you want a nicer world. When your employer doesn't understand you, you want to be understood. When your employer doesn't ask enough from you, you want more to be called through you. When your employer doesn't pay you enough, you want to be paid more. When your employer gives you assignments that are boring, you want more stimulating experience. When your employees don't show up, you want them to come to work. When your employees are lackadaisical when they get there, you would like them to be more focused. In other words, when your children don't understand you, we'll give that one up. Everything that you are living is causing you to put a personal, new and improved request into your vortex. Now, these new and improved requests, such as those that we just mentioned, and thousands more every day, they are melded in to the intentions that you held before you were born. They are melded in to the intentions that you hold globally, that you hold as humanity, that you hold as source energy. In other words, you just become bigger and more, but the specifics of that which you are asking for are melded in all day, every day. So in every moment of every day, there is this vibrational relationship going on between you and you. And what we want you to understand is that those two vibrational aspects equal your point of attraction. Now, I want to put this in a way that you can really feel the balance of it, because while source energy is way bigger, and in very general terms, it affects the basis of your experience, like cells duplicating themselves, and like your blood moving through your body in the way that it must for your survival, and like your earth spinning in its orbit. In other words, they're general in that you're not, Esther's not, none of you are putting them on your things to do today list. They are things that you accept as a basis of your reality. They are huge, they are enormous in comparison with the thoughts that you're thinking today, but they are stable. The specifics of what you are thinking about today, in other words, the subject of how you're getting along with your lover, or how you're getting along with your children, or how your lover is getting along with your children, or how you're getting along in terms of economics, those kinds of things play a very big part of the vibration of your human vibrational patterns. So that's the point of attraction that we want you to turn your attention to. We want you to understand that if your life had not caused you to become more, then not going wouldn't feel bad. In other words, if you had not, over all that you've lived, become one who loves, then not loving wouldn't bother you. But it does. It bothers you because it keeps you apart from who you are. So, start in that place. Do you understand that you are more than this physical body? Do you accept that the source energy that was you before you came still exists non-physically as soul or source? Some call it God, but do you accept that that source still is? Does it make sense to you that you are a creator and therefore an expander? Doesn't it make sense to you that you didn't come just to catch up with something already done? What would be the point? You came as an expanding source energy to take thought beyond what it has been before. And the specifics of your life have taken it beyond what it was before your birth. Now, we have not said this to you before. We're going to say it to you here and now. It will answer many questions that we've been feeling coming from you. you accept the premise, or at least follow us through with our analogy, that you were source energy before you came into this body. And in this body, you explore and expand. The emotion that you feel is not about the difference between what you're thinking in this moment and what you thought before you were born. In other words, that basis from which you were born is not part of the emotional measurement that you feel in your emotions now. Some of you heard that. You're right out there on the leading edge if you did. We'll say it until you all hear it, because it is essential to understanding your point of attraction. So, before you were born, you understood that the earth would spin in its orbit. So, that's not part of the thinking equation that you've got going on now. In other words, nobody's feeling negative emotion relative to that subject. That subject is established. The things that are giving you emotional feedback are the things that you put into the vortex that you are now defying. So whenever you think thoughts that defy what you've put into the vortex, our way of explaining that to you is your life caused you to expand. The larger part of you took the expansion. You're not taking the expansion right now because you're focused upon the problem rather than the solution. So the negative emotion that you're feeling is because you're splitting your energy. You're splitting the energy of the creative energy of the creation that you have done. Just to get your attention, and maybe this will help you coming around to what we're getting at here, this vortex of creation where you've put the spin-off of everything that you want, that vortex of creation where the source within you has gathered it and has vibrationally become the culmination of all that you have ever asked for, that vortex of creation is the only present tense that exists in all of the universe. And this stuff that you call present tense that is already manifested really is old news. It's old vibrational news anyway. You say, well, it doesn't feel so old. I just got my car today. We say, old news. Because by the time it manifests, the vibration of it has been spinning for a very long time. So when you accept that the now reality is in this vortex and you care about taking the emotional journey into the vortex so that you can align with the solution right now, then you get the emotional benefit of feeling the relief of the solution even before it manifests. And a lot of people still aren't willing to do that. A lot of people say, show me the solution and then I'll show you my relief. And we say, it doesn't work that way. As long as you are all tied up, you are not allowing the relief that you want. And you say, well, I'll feel a lot of relief when they plug that leak. And it hasn't got anything to do with me. So they'll get it plugged, and then when I turn on the television, I'll feel relief. And we say, you are the creator of your own experience. And if you train yourself to expect others to change conditions so that when you then observe those changed conditions, you will feel better, you miss the point of your reason for being, and you hold yourself chronically, vibrationally apart from your vortex, from the real time of who you really are. We have enjoyed this interaction more than words can convey. It is exhilarating to know you. We want you to know that your vortex is open for our perusal at all times. And you need not feel uncomfortable about it because we adore what we see there. And everything that we think about you is about your vortex and your relativity to it. Every word that we utter and everything that we know is about assisting you in coming into conscious awareness with who you are. We told you at the beginning of this day that it was going to be good, but there's no way of anticipating just how good something can be. It is the real-time discovery of it that we all experienced here together today. We weren't standing there in that knowing. Together, we found it. It is co-creating at its best. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain infinitely in the vortex.